Hey kiddos! Not too long ago I saw a friend of mine's mom on Facebook, and it reminded me of a story. This friend of mine died almost 10 years ago while we were in the military, but his mom has kept up with a lot of us, and she's in some of our Facebook groups and things like that. This story is rated PG-13 at least, so keep that in mind if you choose to move forward. And without further ado, here is the unusual superpower of Danny Scherry. So Lance Corporal Danny Scherry was a new guy on my second deployment. You could tell he had a little bit rougher childhood than some of the other guys. What was really interesting about that was that Danny seemed to draw people in. Everybody wanted to know his story. A lot of people wanted to know where he came from and how his life was growing up, and Danny told stories that really drew people in. Because of that, he gained a lot of popularity really fast. But these types of things tend to happen when you get new guys and units go on deployment. People start falling into those boxes, you know, the weird guy that doesn't bathe, the smart guy who no one knows why he's there because he's done college and we're all idiots. You get people like Danny who sort of gain popularity and sort of fit in with all the groups. And at the beginning of the deployment, he rode in some of the same trucks that I did. So we began to spend a little bit more time together. Alright, real quick intermission. Gotta get gas and a drink for size comparison. That'll make sense in just a minute. Okay, so the shapes were completely different, but the bottle was bigger than this. Guys, before we get back to it, I'd just like to say it's mid-February. I'm wearing a very thin jacket and I'm sweating. Thanks, Obama. Okay, back at it. So here we were in Iraq on my second deployment. We had just recently flown in and they had told us what we were going to do. We were going to drive a convoy from the airbase where we flew in, up the Euphrates River, cross the Haditha Dam, and then walk. And by walk I mean provide armed security for engineers who were going to look for explosives and IED making devices and things like that, all the way down the Euphrates River where people were carrying them across the river to make IEDs. It's not good. So Danny and the rest of us jumped into our Humvees and we drove. We went from the airbase north next to the Euphrates River. We crossed the Haditha Dam. Had people living on the top of the dam and on the side of the dam. It was crazy. I need to look that up. America, fuck yeah! Coming again to save the motherfucking day, yeah! America, fuck yeah! Anyway, across the dam, we start coming back down, and we stopped at some random base to refuel and get some sleep because it took all day. Hey, Grandpa. Okay, so I can't go any further without doing some splaining. Thank you, Ricky. So where we were, and during this part of the war, they didn't let you just hang out outside. It wasn't safe. What you had to do was, if you went outside, you had to put on all your armor. You had to put on your vest, which at that time was, you know, 4 plates and all your mags. You had to carry a weapon with you at all times, helmet, the whole nine. It was an ordeal just to get dressed, particularly when your name is Danny Scherry and you're riding in a turret during this entire trip that lasted the majority of the day, and all you want to do is go and drain your bladder. They didn't have anywhere for us to stay at this base. I mean, it was a base built for the size of the unit that was already inhabiting it. So they didn't have a bunch of tents and rooms and things like that. But what they did have was some bunkers. These bunkers were most of the way buried into the ground. The tops were made out of several layers of sandbags, and they had stairways that you could walk down into these bunkers. But these bunkers were rooms. That's it. There weren't lights. There was no running water. There weren't cots. We had our sleeping bags, and this room was made out of wood, and it was buried into the ground. That's it. That's all we had. If you wanted to go to the bathroom, you had to put on all your gear, and you had to walk however far it was, 100 yards, whatever, to wherever the bathroom was. Huge pain in the ass. So, being that Marines are fantastic at problem solving, bing, they realized that the water bottles that we drank out of served two purposes. The first was to hydrate, and the second was allow you a place to dehydrate.
Ray, there's got to be a better system than this peeing in jugs.
And then you took them, when you had the opportunity, to wherever it was that you threw the bottles away, usually at the burn pits. Such was life in Iraq. Through my extensive experience with plastic bottle urology, I relearned some things about myself that I already knew. Such as, I don't like waiting to go to the bathroom, and I also have a small bladder. There was a small section near the bottom of the bottle that was just plain flat, and then the majority of the rest of the bottle was ribbed every, I don't know, third or half of an inch or so. And through my extensive experience, I learned that I could fill up between 3 and 5 usually of these ribs. That's all I had. But in this particular day, where we had been on the road all day, Danny Scherry exhibited his unusual superpower. She liked it. We're down in the bunker, we're setting up our stuff, and Danny says, essentially, he's got to take a piss. He goes to the side of the bunker, he's got a empty bottle, these dual-use receptacles, and with his back to us, Danny begins to urinate in this bottle that's over a liter in size. None of that was weird. What was weird was that Danny didn't stop. He kept pissing. It was a miracle, as far as I'm concerned. He kept pissing and he kept pissing to the extent where it caught everyone's attention. Then they were like, "What are you doing?" They were all mesmerized by what was going on, even though they couldn't see exactly what was going on. But they could hear the sound of this bottle filling up. And we all knew through our extensive experience that there wasn't a lot of room left. And this quickly became a problem. Danny starts hollering out that he's filling it up. And he needs another bottle. And we're all dumbfounded. We can't believe it. We're all laughing our asses off. What are you talking about? Nobody fills up a bottle. Finally, with one hand, he bends over and he puts this bottle away from his legs. And he's hollering that he needs another bottle. People realize he's serious because this other bottle is full. Everybody's scrambling around. They find another bottle. They hand it to him. And he's saying, "Hurry up. I've got it pinched." He gets the second bottle. He continues pissing. He pisses like another 2 or 3 lines. And we were all more than impressed. Bravo, Danny. Bravo. And as is customary in the military, this became, at least in some circles, what Danny was known for. And for this reason and many others, it was extraordinarily difficult for everyone when Danny died a short time later. Another reason Danny's death was so difficult for me personally was, at the time, I was the senior corpsman for the platoon. I tried to pass down all the knowledge that I had to my junior corpsman, Doc Lobb. But there's only so much you can do. It was really difficult for me because they had sent me on a different mission the day that Danny died. And so because I was a corpsman and because I had the type of training that I had, and I had a little bit more experience, it was that much harder on me when I found out what happened. But Danny Scherry will always go down in history as having an unusual superpower. And that, along with everything else that was fantastic about Scherry and made him unique will always be remembered. Miss Scherry, I really hope you liked this video. I really hope you enjoyed the story. Thanks so much for letting us share it with everybody. And if you know anybody else who knows Scherry, share the video with them so they can have a complete understanding of what his experience was like before he left us too soon. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.